Good. Hey, we're back and we're green. That is a flying start from Paul Blomqvist. My word, he has absolutely rocketed from 8th place all the way to 2nd as we fire down into turn number 1. In fact, that's his teammate Andrew Waite in the same car who we've never seen in the series before, who's making that spectacular move. Blomqvist is a little bit further back. Mark Gibson has retained the race lead. Sabo is able to take 2nd place back, and Waite will have to settle into 3rd. Still 6th to 3rd, not bad as Sabo spins it. Waite has to go off the racetrack, and Sabo was collected, I think, potentially by Taylor Cockerdon.
Yeah, so it was Sabo losing it and then Andrew Waite, and I think that was Cockerdon. Yeah, you're right, Cockerdon hitting him, and those guys coming together in turn number 5, but everybody else making it through all right with that one. A little bit of a melee, but that just means that Mark Gibson now has more space as more cars go out after the hairpin.
The infamous bumps at Sebring catching drivers out. Was that Cockerdon that spun after the contact? It is. Well, 2 of our 3 leaders in the championship have spun on lap 1. Now that is something to make a big note of as we roll through our first lap. It means they could be starting towards the front for race 2 though, so it's swings to the roundabouts. James Anderson though, 2nd in the championship, is still running, and he's picked up a few spots courtesy of the lap 1 drama. In fact, no, he's dropped 2 spots, so even he's not had a good opening lap despite 2 guys in front of him spinning. Todd Gibson locks it up, and that allows Anderson to spot back, and Gibson rejoins top of the shot there, just behind Anderson. Bit of contact further back actually if we go back to Cameron Freeman and Nathan Krang. Giantini, they're all banging doors, and they're 2x2 lined up down this back straight. Oh no, don't go 3-1 to Sunset Bend. It's plenty wide enough, but the bumps don't really allow it. I'll tell you what, Royce Rollinson got very close to making contact. There it is, Nathan Krang into
Cameron Freeman.
Who is that? Cameron Freeman. Freeman was almost turned by Rollinson, and he was turned by Krang.
Yeah, a little bit messy on lap number 1, but it's expected at Sebring with the cold tires. Short formation lap here as well, so even the pro drivers have difficulty here as we're seeing it right now. But one thing that came to fruition was your remember what you mentioned earlier on about Paul Blomqvist rising up to 2nd place and realizing it's Waite? Well, look who's in the 2nd place right now. Yeah.
It's called a premonition.
Yeah, you were just 1 lap too early.
Exactly right. So what happened to Andrew Waite then? Because he did have a flying start, and he's dropped back to 9th position now. So that is a shame for him, because that was absolutely stunning at the launch he had.
Yeah, so he was
I suspect he might do some racing in real life, judging by that almost exclusive real-world driver paint scheme he's running, shared by Blomqvist, Van Gisbergen, and McLaughlin, and many others.
Yeah, so he was the one who hit Sabo on lap number 1 when Sabo spun around in turn number 5, and he had to take it across.
You know, so much happened on that first lap. My mind's already erased what happened at turn 2.
Yeah, I know, right?
Crazy opening lap.
Yeah, it was a bit insane, but let's hope these guys can now get it back going once again. I'm looking at the fight for 3rd place right now. Kirchner and Rollinson and Griffin and Anderson and all those guys, Ryan, they're having a good old melee here on from 3rd place back.
Yeah, so Mark Gibson leads by 2.5 seconds to Blomqvist, and then this battle for P3. Behind Henry, you've got June Rollinson, Matthew Griffin. Your top 5, James Anderson, Gibson, Waite, Gintini, and Royce Rollinson are your top 10 as we complete our 2nd lap of our opening 25-minute race. 1:58.329 lap that Mark Gibson's doing out at the front, quite a bit quicker than these guys back here. About a second quicker, actually. As we're riding on board with Matthew Gibson right now. Matthew Griffin, sorry. You can see those curbs. They're very annoying because they're like gigantic bumps. You cannot ride them gracefully. The curbs at Sebring are not smooth.
No, not at all, not at all. And especially the one on the exit of turn number 5 on the right side. That's the one most people are gonna run over if they take it a little bit too hot in there, and that's the one that's gonna punish them the most, because that pushes you off the line so easily, and if you lose it over there, then you're gonna hit the bridge. You are just going to hit the bridge, or one of its supports at least, the tower barriers there. And another very interesting one is at the entry of the tower corner, the one we're coming to right here. Look on the right side, top of your screen, and you're gonna see a curb there, and that's the one he hit. Rollinson just hit it right now, and you're gonna lose a bit of time hitting that one because it just pushes you right wide, and then you get these nice and flat curves here. So why couldn't they put these nice and flat curves all over the track? Well, that's an interesting question, and only the people who run Sebring International Raceway will know the answer to that one. But you know what? We still love it, Ryan.
Well, you know who runs it? Actually, no, I don't know. It's owned by NASCAR via IMSA Holdings, operated by the racetrack. Wikipedia tells me very helpfully.
Operated by the racetrack.
To make life more difficult will be my answer. The same reason they've opted to leave 4 million bumps at the corner of 1,000 lines that precedes the main straight. The gap continues to stretch. Gibson to Blomqvist. Kokkonen on the charge back up the order. Just got by Krang by the looks of things. Yep, Krang on that big old chrome bullet.
And Kokkonen behind him.
About 3 spots behind Sabo at the moment. It's 11th versus 13th, so that's 2 spots. But he is a few seconds back, and that's crucial. Ooh, what's this? That's Giantini, who's got off the racetrack, and it's getting worse for him as he tries and just about keeps it off the tyre bundle. Just graced it, did a good job to gather it up, but that cost him an awful lot of time, and he's fallen behind Hayden Kirk and slotted into 12th position. Here's the replay.
Yeah, so it all started on the entry of turn number 1. He turned in too early, had to overcorrect it, then lost it, went to the grass, and went all the way to turn number 2 and turn number 3 on the grass. And then, you know, you can't slow it down very, very effectively there. You kind of need tarmac for that. So he ended up almost hitting those tar barriers. In fact, he just grazed them a little bit. But that could have been so much worse for Giantini. And that was certainly what you call, a long haul. That's the kind of ride that the taxi driver would take the unsuspecting tourist on in the town he's foreign in.
Yeah. Now, if I'm going to make a mistake in a 2-race format where there's a reverse grid, I'm making it in the first race, because then you know, if you finish dead last, you've got pole for race 2. You're sweet, you're solid, you're good to go. So, there's a silver lining to making these errors here. You just got to make sure you don't replicate them in race 2, and I think that's what those guys at the back have to be looking at the moment, because there's a hard road forward with just 17 minutes left to go in this race. It's a vast expanse of nothingness. Looking back down that main straight there, past the racetrack. Gene Rollinson, though, has very much got plenty to look at. Back end of Henry Thomas Kutcher is filling his windscreen. Last lap, he was pretty much dead even with him in terms of pace, and that's largely due to the fact he was being held up by him, certainly through the first couple of sectors.
So what do you think, Ryan, about the paint scheme on car number 10, Henry Thomas
Is that
Kutcher?
Anderson? That's Anderson. Anderson's had a spin. Make that all 3 of our championship leaders in trouble in the first race, and he rejoins right next to Taylor Kokkonen. I'm going to assume it's a jump onto the brake pedal of the car, over-rotates in the rear. Yep, right there. Around she goes. Just kept it off the inside concrete wall. Kept it off the outside as well, but I'm just going to send those tyres into a bit of a heat cycle.
Yeah, it is, and that's never a good thing, especially around Sebring, where you get the bumpy track. Bumpy track's going to give you difficulties anyway, and here we have Captain Kirk taking a little bit of a detour around the grass.
Yeah, next on the list of drivers to make a mistake, Hayden Kirk. Wonder who's next. He's rejoined right in front of Nathan Krang, who's looking like he wants to make the move, but Kirk covered him off. In theory, he should have the faster car, given he bolted off the racetrack, but much higher up in the order. But Krang has not had his share of good luck in this race either, so it's going to be an interesting battle. If Krang can hold on, oh, he's sending smoke signals there at the right front pinch dramatically. That might relieve some of the pressure to Hayden Kirk. This is all allowed. Hang on a minute. Sabo I did wonder, he's actually registering in 19th position right now. So he's had another issue. And he's in pit road. Now that is...
Oh dear.
I hate to say it, but that is pretty big in terms of our championship. Now, remember, it's very early in the season. It's round 4 of 10. But it's very clear at this stage who our championship protagonist probably will be.
Yeah.
And this is going to hand a pretty big free kick to those other guys. Speaking of which, Anderson, Cockerdin, Giantini, in a big old tussle heading down the main straight. They'll go past and maybe see Sabo's car on pit road, and Anderson will look for the inside run up at turn 1, and he'll discover that the outside carries some pretty good momentum through there.
Yeah, that it does. So pretty well done by Quintini, Cockerdon as well, right ahead of them. Anderson now trying to claw his way back, of course, after the earlier mistakes. Now, in case you're wondering, Taylor Cockerton started his race in 2nd place, so he was the 2nd fastest in qualifying. Quintini started 13th, Anderson starting 5th, so technically this should be easy pickings for Anderson in terms of qualifying place, and indeed he goes right up to the inside onto the hairpin and easy pass there. And now starting to chase Cockerton. Now what's the gap ahead of them? It's about 4.5 seconds to Royce Rollinson and then 3 more seconds to Todd Gibson. I'd say that's just about doable as we are halfway through race number 1. Almost.
Cockerdin's actually fallen to 4th in the championship after the disastrous round he had at Istanbul. Eugene Rollinson's looking pretty good right now in 4th. He's picked up some decent points early on. Still looking like he's unable to make any inroads on Henry in front of him, who I'm trying to avoid using this last time as much as possible because probably getting it wrong. And then Blomqvist up the road in 2nd is actually starting to fall backwards into the clutches of that number 10 car. I'll check the lap times again as I cross the line here. So Henry Thomas Kircher does a 1:59.181. That was 4/10 slower than his previous lap, and it's 3/10 slower than Paul Blomqvist is able to do, as I've just noticed Sabo has re-entered the racetrack.
Yep,
there's the comparison.
Well, always good to see for drivers to have actually re-entered. There's nothing embarrassing about, calling it early when you see a driver on the pit lane. That absolutely means retirement most of the time. But Sabo coming back and trying to see if he can still, get some positions from here. Maybe from drivers crashing out, because it is a race of attrition always at Sebring. And I think it's a point of pride as well for Sabo. You have signed up for the long haul. You want to race. You have signed up to race, not to sit on the pit lane. So if your car can still do it, if there's a racetrack in open, then, the stage is open. Go out there and dance. And
look at it.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So I just confused myself massively because I was looking at the timing boards. I was going to make a reference to M. Gibson. No, it's not Mel Gibson. It's Mark Gibson. And I was going to just double check as, born in Australia. And then I discovered he's not born in Australia, and my entire life has actually been a lie. So I'm just contemplating that piece of information right now.
Oh, where is Mel Gibson born then?
New York.
Oh, okay. Well, that's... wow, okay. That's almost as bad as Keke Rosberg being actually born in Sweden. In fairness, I knew that all my life, but, he's still growing up in Finland, so it counts. And either way, we should be probably carrying on with this broadcast then, with all that information. Are you sure you're gonna make it, Ryan? Are you sure you're gonna make it through that, Ryan?
Hey, Todd Gibson's had a problem. I wonder if he's related to Mark, actually up there on the road. So Mark got bragging rights right now, especially that mistake from Todd Gibson. Has that cost him a spot? Looks like it has. To James Anderson. Here's the replay. Whoa, too much speed, rear end. Did not want any part of that, and that was a sizable hit. And damage down the left side, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, that's gonna be one difficult to handle race car after that. Now the good thing for him was that he hit it pretty much straight on, in a sense that it was, you know, he hit it on a straight line sideways. He didn't hit his suspension in it. He didn't hit his tires necessarily on it. He didn't hit it in an angle. He hit it on a straight line. And if you wanna hit your race car at any angle, probably sideways, straight on against the wall in a 90-degree angle, that's gonna be the best one, because that means least damage for the important bits of the car. You're gonna damage, of course you're gonna damage something, but it's gonna be mostly bodywork instead of the, you know, the splitter or the engine or the suspension or anything like that. So I think he could be still in a reasonable pace even after such a sizable contact.
Tell you what, there's a few drivers carrying a bit of war wounds right now. Taylor Cochran is one of them. His splitter looks like it's pushed up right in the middle from his adventures so far tonight, and that is probably hampering a little bit as James Anderson starts to run him down for 8th position. He was 3/10 quicker on the last lap and made a little bit of a mistake there, actually, through Sunset Bend, which just cost him probably 3/10 of a second. Lap times are dead even. Something you might have just seen is that fastest lap of the race just went to Paul Blomqvist, so the gap's 2.4 seconds. It's certainly not sold to Mark Gibson yet. He was 6/10 quicker on the last lap. If he keeps that up, he will get there.
He will, absolutely. I mean, Paul Blomqvist 158.3 last time, Gibson 158.9. And the thing is, Paul is also pulling Henry along with him, because Henry went 158.3 also. So these guys are both catching up to our race leader, and Gibson, I think, is gonna be feeling the pressure. He still has, mind you, he still has almost 2.5 seconds to his advantage, but it's come down 2/10 already over the course of this lap. So he's gonna have to be playing it a little bit safe, not make too many mistakes. But at the same time, he can't be playing it too safe, because then those guys are gonna catch right up to him. Now the one thing he has on his side is time.
So what you're saying is, you can't start to push much more, because then you could make a mistake. You can't afford to lay off anymore, because then you could start to underdrive the car. So what you're saying is, it's an impossible task almost. Welcome to motor racing.
No. What I'm saying is keep doing what you're doing.
That is very hard, isn't it, Ozzy, though, when you know that there is someone behind you who's very fast, who's won a race already this year, and is quicker than you right now.
No, it's hard, but then again, these guys are racing drivers. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, no?
We're all doing it. Some of us better than others. True enough. But yeah, last time by Mark Gibson. Look at this. James Anderson swoops to the outside of Taylor Cochran, almost grabbed the fence as he did that. And he's not going to find passage around the outside there. While they battle, Royce Rollinson is very quickly appearing in front of these guys, so it could become a 3-car scrap. In fact, I'd argue that right now it is a 3-car scrap. Look down at the hairpin for one of these two, either Cochran or Anderson, to make a move. I think Cochran might be a little bit too far back. Don't know if Anderson's got the run. I'll tell you what, Cochran did launch out of there pretty well, and Anderson is not going to get close enough. Very good on the brakes of Cochran in there. You saw that from on board with Royce Rollinson as that number 11 car roared up behind him.
Yeah, and that's the kind of corner where you really separate. If you are good under braking, you're gonna really notice it onto the hairpin, because that's the kind of place where you can leave the braking later than you expect at times. Because when you turn into the corner, you're still gonna have a pretty shallow turn until it really gets tighter towards the middle of the turn.
Look at that.
Yeah, and they're right up to each other right now. Cochran is really looking to challenge Rollinson here, and he's gonna take that 7th place away, I think.
You could see the damage to his car from that shot as well. He took a lot of the curb when he got that great run. He just had nowhere to go with it. because this is coming into a complex where you don't really want to go for an overtake. James Anderson grabs the curb, spins it around. Luckily, there's 400 miles of runoff there, but that's going to cost him more time, more spots, and that's another mistake in this race for James Anderson, not having a race to remember right now. Only cost him one position to Giantini, but still, it is a very big error. 1.8, the gap out front now. Another fastest lap for Blomqvist. Kokkonen wasn't able to stay close to Royce Rollinson through that last little sector, and that has allowed him some breathing room into some of the bigger overtaking opportunities of the track.
So I'm looking at Rollinson and Kokkonen still as we are looking at the screen as well. And I'm impressed by Rollinson at how he's able to keep his own line, in a sense that he's not getting flustered. We talked about it earlier on. Keep doing what you've been doing, and that's what Rollinson has been doing here. Royce has, kept his line steady. He's not pulling any unnecessary defensive moves. He's going to leave the inside open for Kokkonen here, and Kokkonen's going to chime on in there and actually have contact. Wow! So that was maybe a mistake leaving it open, but look at Royce there, just pushing him out of the way. And, well, little bit of payback, maybe.
So Taylor Kokkonen will have to work a little bit harder to get that spot in the next 3 and a bit minutes. Oh, look at the leaderboard on your top left. Look at the gap. Blomqvist has made an error. He had it down to 1.8. It's gone to 2.9. Somewhere on this lap, he has made a mistake that is probably going to cost him a shot at winning this race with how little time there is left. Here's a replay. Was it on the brakes for the hairpin? He turns it in. It sticks. It was
turn 5. It was turn 5.
It was earlier. So it's further back than this. Okay.
Yeah. So here we go. So he's gonna go wide here under braking and go over that curb we were talking about and hit the sand trap there, and that's gonna cost him on the exit as well. So that's the kind of mistake that cost you a second.
It doesn't look like a massive mistake, does it? But then you realize that's leading onto a straight. That's where all the time just went pouring down the drain for him. Shows you how good Mark Gibson is doing. To force that error from Paul Blomqvist in his quest to run him down. 2 minutes 40 seconds remaining, so 2 laps to go here at Sebring International Raceway for our first of 2 races tonight in the BMW Race Driver Series presented by Express Hydraulics and Griffin Excavations.
I tell you what, they're gonna have to dig deep if they still want to catch up to Mark Gibson here in this race.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, look how close he is here. This time, gonna get to the outside of Royce Rollinson. So it's roles reversed. Can he get the crossover? That's what he's trying to set himself up for. He does get the good run, but again, he's not putting himself on the right side of the racetrack. And they're getting very close right now through the left-hand kick. Oh, so close to contact. But a lot of respect being shown right up until that moment when Royce Rollinson's car did not stop and Taylor Kokkonen had to turn in at some point.
Yeah, I think Rollinson, he had half the racetrack. He had the half the racetrack. He was great up until here. And you can see how Kokkonen was really looking for the run, looking to the outside as they come into Cunningham Corner. And you're going to see Rollinson up on the inside there, just not stopping for that Cunningham Corner, turn number 10 here. And as a result of that, at some point you just have to turn in, and he's just braking a little bit too late. The car's not turning in, and he went wide here. Thankfully, no real damage done. Got back to the racetrack and only lost 1 position of extra to Matteo Gintini. So Gintini is actually, you remember when this was a 3-way battle between Kokkonen and Rollinson and Anderson? Well, suddenly it's Gintini who has gained 2 of those 3 places that they were fighting for.
That rejoin from Royce Rollinson would have made Gintini's heart skip a beat for a moment. They got very close together. It is the final lap for our race leader, Mark Gibson, and proving to us all how important a good qualifying session is and how good consistency is. He was the fastest in qualifying. In the race, maybe Paul Blomqvist has been our fastest driver, but Gibson's had the consistency to stay comfortably ahead of him, and he's not been under much tangible pressure for any really length of time in this race. Blomqvist is 2.6 back. He's putting pressure on him in terms of the leaderboard, but right now Gibson is just comfortably bringing this car home. It's come down by half a second on this lap, and I think that's a case of you always tend to turn it down a gear on the last lap, just don't make a silly error and throw away a race win as he comes around the back of the circuit.
Having the chance to enjoy the scenery a little bit here, which granted isn't, for all good things Sebring has, scenery isn't one of them, Ryan.
The thing with an airfield is it's often in a place of a very flat locale. Ideally, there's a lot that aren't, with not many trees around, and as you can see, the trees are very far away here at Sebring. Saying that, there are some wild airstrips out there in the world. This place isn't one of them. Through the final corner, Mark Gibson, on his debut, turned up, he stuck it on pole, and he's gonna bring it all the way back to the checkered flag and record his first ever race win from his first ever start in the BMW Race Driver Series. Blomqvist will come across in second position, and Henry Thomas Kircher will settle for third on his debut.
Yeah, great results for those guys. Rollinson, Griffin and Waite coming up 4th, 5th and 6th. Still waiting for a couple of last guys to come up to the line. Actually, we got a decent battle going on for 14th place if you want to go back there. Douglas Bickley and Stephen Barker. And Stephen Barker in that beautiful New York taxi-looking livery that says student driver in the rear of the car. And he's having a bit of a look maybe to the back straight. And indeed, he does get alongside, but that's a slowdown penalty. I was thinking that's a bit close to a slowdown penalty, and that was a slowdown, and Bickley is just slowing down for him. I don't know why. So yeah, these guys having a bit of a conversation, maybe just, you know, holding each other's hands as they come across the line. You know, just Sebring, it is kind of dangerous, and especially
a mistake there.
Yeah,
it is. He ran very wide through Sunset Bend, but Stephen Barker is not going to be close enough to make any inroads on him. Kieran Rollinson and Jonathan Shapley are the last two drivers still circulating under racing conditions. Shapley only just making it back straight now. He started this one from 19th, will finish in 17th, but being a bit of a rough race for him. As in fact, he just had to navigate Tony Lovelock, who was also on the racetrack, but he's a lap down. Still yet to finish. Issue with a long racetrack is often you're waiting a long time after the race for the last couple runners to get to that start-finish line. But they're pretty much there now. So we'll go through our post-race results from our first race of two. So don't go anywhere here at Sebring. Mark Gibson's winning margin in the end stands at 1.9 seconds back to Paul Blomqvist. Henry Thomas Kircher third. Gene Rollinson and Matthew Griffin rounded out our top five as the session ticks over and our results disappear. Andrew Waite finishes in 6th. Taylor Cochran picked up 7th after recovering from early mishaps. Matthew Giantini 8th. Royce Rollinson 9th. James Anderson finished in 10th after his early and middle mishaps as well.
Hayden Kirk gonna be coming home 11th ahead of Nathan Crank. Todd Gibson 13th. Douglas Bickley 14th with Stephen Barker 15th. Kieran Rollinson is going to be home 16th. Jonathan Shapley 17th, and one lap down, Antar Rafael Sabo, our championship leader, all the way down in 18th place. Tony Lovelock 19th, and Cameron Freeman, your only retirement of the first start, coming home 20th with Joshua Andrew, classified as did not start. And well, we have 4 minutes up until the next one, and it's going to be a reverse grid. So it's going to be Cameron Freeman, I think, out of those who are on the server starting from the pole. And Ryan, I must say, by the looks of things, it would be an easy race for Antar Rafael Sabo, what with starting basically on the second row. But we've seen before, it may not necessarily be as easy as it looks.
Yeah, I'm going to echo the sentiment of the field here and say, oh no. Sabo is starting from 4th in the reverse grid race. But 4th is not first. There's 3 guys ahead of him who could put up a bit of a fight, and if he gets a bad start, he could be in a bit of a danger zone. He made his own mistake on lap 1 of the last race, so certainly not clear sailing for him. A lot of work to do for our good finishers in race 1, though. Mark Gibson will have to start from dead last. Be a rude shock for him in his first race, or first round, second race. Kocher from third, Blomqvist second on the back. Looking at James Anderson, he'll have a starting spot of 12th. Cockerdon will have a starting spot of 15th. So those two and Gene as well. Gene Rollinson is starting from 18th. Keep an eye on those guys.
Yeah, and it's going to make it matters even worse for the rest of the guys, because you see Josh, Andrew, and Cameron Freeman, neither of them are on the server, so essentially that gives Sabo a front row starting position alongside Tony Lovelock. So that's going to be even worse for the guys behind. But still, remember, Sabo spun by his own accord on lap number 1 on the first race, and that's why he's all the way back down there. He spun on turn number 5, and that means that, you know, who knows? He can maybe do it again. Let's hope not. But mistakes here, especially on lap number 1 and on lap number 2 as well, they are very easy to make, even for the drivers who are on the level that Antar Rafael Sabo operates, who are on the level that they can bring in race wins and they can be the fastest guy. They are still humans and they're still capable of making errors. So, you know, I wouldn't ring the church bells just yet and, you know, go to the marketplace and try to, you know, run down the final result of Sabo winning race number 2. But I would say he has the cape of the favorite for race number 2. I would put it that way.
A minute or just over left in this warm-up session before our final race of the night, the reverse grid, which always spices things up. And in fact, as I say that, we advance and skip the rest of warm-up, and we are going to head straight through into this event. So we could make you do it the hard way and just figure out where your driver finished and then invert it, but we'll go through our full starting grid for you then for race 2. So Joshua Andrew naps the pole for this one, and Cameron Freeman will start alongside him. Tony Lovelock from 3rd, Sabo, as mentioned, from 4th, Jonathan Chaplin, Kieran Rollinson starting 5th and 6th, ahead of Stephen Barker and Douglas Bickley. Todd Gibson and Nathan Krang make up your top 10.
Hayden Kirk gonna be starting 11th with James Anderson all the way down in 12th place. Royce Rollinson 13th, Matthew Gintini 14th with Taylor Cockerton 15th place, ahead of Andrew Waite, Matthew Griffin and Gene Rollinson. 19th place gonna be belonging to Henry Thomas Kircher with 20th place to Paul Blomqvist. And last but not least, our start number 1 winner, heat number 1 winner, Mark Gibson, who on his debut shocked everybody. Now, can he go one better? We'll find out here over the course of next 25 minutes, Ryan.
And winding up behind the iRacing.com Porsche Pace car. Getting ready to go. Pace car rolls off and we are moving. Our front row of Andrew and Freeman did not appear, so we have a front row now of Lovelock and Sabo, and that's suddenly a lot more dangerous to field with Sabo on the front row. But Lovelock will control us as the pace car dives off. And we are racing for the second time in Sebring. That is a glorious start for Lovelock, and Sabo's under a lot of pressure to hold on to second place as Shapley's right in behind him. And Kieran Rollinson is looking around the outside at turn 1. The leader spins in front of the field. Rollinson goes round as well. Shapley spins too. And Andrew Waite through the grass. I think Paul Blomqvist might have spun as well. I think he escaped it. I count 4 drivers with issues there at turn 1.
Yeah, so that's Lovelock involved, Shapley involved, Barker was involved in that mix as well. So all of those guys, as well as Kieran Rollinson, were having difficulties earlier on. Also, Andrew Waite was one of those guys who were further in the back. Paul Blomqvist, meanwhile, he had gained a couple of positions as a result of all that melee. And one driver taking the old circuit.
Yeah, that's the ultimate circuit there. And oh, that was a very close rejoin as he ended up almost in the left side of Paul Blomqvist. Bright yellow and white car. He sidesteps him and gets ahead in the braking zone. So that's left Sabo as our race leader. James Anderson's gone from 9th to 2nd on lap 1. Todd Gibson sits in 3rd ahead of Mark Gibson in 4th. Wow.
Mark Gibson in 4th.
How's he done that?
Well, avoiding everything, I guess. I mean, there was a huge, once we get later on a replay of that start, I think we should jump on board Mark Gibson and find out exactly how he's done that. But now we can only speculate that he's probably managed to avoid pretty much everything as we are watching everybody scampering for position here on the back straight.
That looks awkward behind these guys. Ooh, that's a big defensive move from someone, fending off Andrew Waite. Almost 3 wide. Kircher looking to the inside, drifting wide into Royce Rollinson. Paul Blomqvist involved. Matthew Griffin gets a piece of it as well. Andrew Waite and Nathan Krang also getting involved. That's a 5-car incident. Kieran Rollinson ends up on his lid. What is happening in Sebring?
Madness. Royce and Kieran Rollinson, both the Rollinsons making it slowly back to the pit lane, as is Paul Blomqvist. Meanwhile, we still have to keep racing, but both of those real driver racing scheme, the Minion racing scheme cars, are pretty much on the pit lane, losing their chances on the second heat. Meanwhile, Todd Gibson and Taylor Cockatron are side by side into the hairpin.
And Cockatron makes that spot. So somehow, after a lap and a quarter of racing, Sabo, Anderson, Mark Gibson, Taylor Cockatron are running 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th after starting 4th, 12th, 21st, and 15th.
Yeah, that's just a seat for you. And
we need some replays.
Yes, please we do, so we can find out what exactly has happened here. So let's roll the tape all the way from the start, it seems, and this is gonna be, of course, Mark Gibson. So on board with him, and he's gonna come across quite a few incidents into turn number 1, Ryan, here. If you're just watching him, he takes the start here, and is he gonna jump it?
Oh, how about that?
Oh, you betcha he's gonna jump it. Okay, that explains some of the things. Taking it all the way to the inside, and is he just gonna be good or lucky into turn number 1, taking a middle line tear? That's lucky so far, avoiding everything, everybody's going out to the right, then just picking the correct line, a little bit of rubbing, and I tell you what, through turn number 1, that was excellent, but I'm afraid, Mark, there was a bit of a jump start there early on, just a tiny bit.
No, it wasn't. Green flag was out. That was a fair start any day of the week. Back live, Mark Gibson putting the pressure on James Anderson, going around the outside at turn number 1, right on the limit, right out to the edge of the racetrack, and then he runs out of road and he has to slot back into 3rd, and Taylor Cockatron behind him is wanting a step on the podium as well. But that was a fair start from Mark Gibson. Anderson off the racetrack, and that's going to give up the spot to Mark Gibson, and Cockatron follows him through.
Tell you what, these guys are only 3.5 seconds behind the leaders right now. Well, a little bit more after that battle, but Sabo's only about 4 seconds ahead of this group, which is being led by Heat 1 winner Mark Gibson. Then you got Cockatron and Anderson, all of those guys in the mix as well. So I think they'd be best versed to maybe let Mark Gibson lead this for a bit and see if he can run down Sabo so they can have this fight for the win instead of the 2nd place.
Oh, that didn't look like an optimal racing line from someone. That was Todd Gibson.
Oh no.
Good news, car's still clean. If we get a safety car that's appeared in every single one of our rounds so far, he'll be back in the fight, and Sabo will be under all sorts of pressure from Mark Gibson.
Yeah, you know, that is an interesting proposition. Are we going to get a safety car here? I think one of the drivers, who I shall not name, was asking that also on the chat. Are we going to get a safety car here on race number 2? And if we are, it's going to be around halfway through this event, which would bring Sabo a pretty good chance to get closer and closer. Well, bring Gibson a pretty good chance to get closer at Sabo, I should say, with Cockerdon and Anderson chasing him.
It seemed like we've had a competition caution in our second race over our first 3 rounds. A couple of times we did it for an actual crash. Well, we might have got one for our calamity on the first 2 laps, but no dice. And Taylor Cockerdon is looking very good right now, piling the pressure on Mark Gibson, and this is pressure that Mark Gibson has not felt in this race, in this event today. He's feeling it now for the first time. A hyper-quick driver all over his back bumper, and he's dealing with the pressure well, because he's actually pulled out a gap that means when he dives onto the brake pedal down here at the hairpin, he's not going to get overtaken.
Yeah, and that's a great result for him. So, you know, these guys are close, but not close enough for Cockerdon in terms of overtaking. And one of the guys who has steadily improved over the course of this race, who had a quiet race number 1 going from 7th to 4th, and even quieter of a race number 2, even if he's gone from 18th to 5th, is Gene Rollinson, just putting in a 158.6 behind this group, matching the lap time of Mark Gibson. So if these guys keep battling, I know I say this a lot, if these guys keep battling, but if they do keep battling, and if Anderson keeps getting that hairy in power corner, then he's going to be right in the mix in no time at all.
Can never discount Gene Rollinson, because he is the champion from Season 1. We never discount the reigning champion. James Anderson. Sabo! That's Sabo! He's spun, he's found the concrete, he has damage, and his day out at Sebring has gone from good to bad to worse to absolutely horrible.
So he's
what has he done?
So he's gonna cut to the inside a little bit too much, hit the curb here, and he's gonna be sent wide, hit the grass there, and spinning out, and that's just the end of the tire barrier that's waiting for him there, and so that's not healthy.
He's missed the concrete
for BMW.
But tire bundle at that speed, probably gonna do just as much damage. Does he feel the need to come to pit road? It doesn't, but that front end is far from healthy, and Sabo, well, he won't be a championship leader even today, I can tell you that much. Only had a 10-point buffer heading into this one. James Anderson sits in 3rd. So, just like that, Mark Gibson has inherited the race lead and is looking to do the double on his debut, and no one has done it yet this year. Taylor Cockerdon sits 2nd. We'll have something to say about that. James Anderson as well, only 1.9 away. 16 minutes left to run.
Yeah, so very interesting proposition for Mark here. Does he, well, of course he tries to run away from Taylor, that's no question, he tries to run away here. But how big of a risk will he take here? And will he know about the possibility of the impeding safety car as well? So that's going to be one of those questions Mark Gibson will be asking himself. That's what Taylor's going to be asking himself as well. And certainly hitting himself over the head will be Sabo, making a mistake like that as Crank goes up to the inside in turn number 1. And that's a very interesting battle between himself, and I think that's either Blomqvist or the other. Yeah, it's not the Blomqvist.
Andrew Waite.
Yeah,
and Nathan Krang has got a face full of Ninian right now. Got a tyre full of grass. Does he look to the inside? He does. Is he good enough on the brakes? He is. And he pulls it up.
Crossover though.
But his exit wasn't anything to be stoked about. Because of the nature of the track, how it bends after that corner, he was able to hold on for a moment, but he gets a touch from Andrew Waite into the braking zone, unsettles him, and Andrew Waite goes straight back through. That is a dicey exchange that has somehow resulted in 2 cars still on the racetrack, still on all its pieces.
Yep, and Andrew certainly wasn't waiting to get his 14th place back.
Keep an eye on that battle for the rest of this race. What else is happening out here on our 5.95 17-kilometer bumpy racetrack?
I can tell you something. 11th place, Jonathan Shapley and Douglas Bickley are getting close. In fact, Shapley made a mistake exiting 1.
Very close.
Yeah.
Side by side. not a corner you can go around the outside, and unfortunately that means Jonathan Chapley, he'll have to concede the position to Douglas Bickley, who utilizes... Oh, well, there you go.
The wall.
It has been probably the most atrocious day we've seen. Is that the right word? There's been a lot of mistakes and a lot of incidents today.
Yeah, so here's the overtake first of all. To the inside, into 3. That's all well done for Bickley. He's going to take the position. Then he's going to come into 5 and going to try to secure a good exit. Unfortunately, he's going to hit that curb and go right for the tire wall. And that's what I was talking about in race number 1. You hit that curb, and not only do you usually lose a lot of time, but you're going to lose it and hit that tire barrier as well. That's right there for the bridge. So the track narrows there, and that's one of the very few places where you can easily hit the wall.
I want to say, that bridge is bizarrely designed, or at least the underside of it, where it interacts with the racetrack. It's one of the only bridges in the world I can think of that, well, for some reason needs to have tire bundles and stands supporting it right next to the racing surface, and it makes the racetrack go from, if you make a mistake, you can recover on the grass, to if you make a mistake, well, there's a chance you could block the track. You could have a monumental shunt there.
Well, I know it. It's not rocket science to design a longer bridge. I wouldn't think so, at least.
Right there. There's an example of a bridge that doesn't interfere with the racetrack. I don't understand why they built the other bridge like that. But either way, it adds an interesting dynamic to the racetrack. One that Douglas Bickley probably wishes wasn't there right now.
Not at all, but, right now he just has to deal with it, I guess. And meanwhile, we're watching Gibson and Cockerton. So, Mark
Bickley
and
just spun again. Turn 1. Rep for you. That car was getting its screen time, one way or another. I'll give him that much. No such thing as bad publicity, is there?
No, but this is one of those things where we have to explain for the driver's sake as well that once you get damage to your car, we don't know how bad of a nick the suspension is, for example. So he could be fighting suspension difficulties, he could be bending some of the aero parts of the car, and as a result of that, ending up way further back than he should be on a pure raw pace and making those mistakes. As we had Anderson Rollinson getting by the lapped car of Kieran Rollinson there in a bit of a moment, and the leading quartet has now separated into two car battles.
You'd think Kieran would do some favours to Gene. James Anderson certainly wasn't held up compared to Gene Rollinson. The gap between them is 1.3 seconds. The gap between our top two is 1 second. 10 minutes to go on this one. We saw the safety car deployed at the 15-minute mark last week at Zandvoort, and that was an interesting idea, given the 4-minute long pace car laps and 3 minutes at the pace car, 3 laps at the pace car to do. We restarted with 3 minutes to go. This track would probably be just as bad, if not worse, so highly would advise against a safety car at this place, because if one came out now, I don't think this race would actually finish on the green.
No, and I don't think that would be very advisable. I mean, a better way to do a safety car period in the middle of the second race would be to do it manually and have someone actually drive that pace car. And then, just take it one slow lap around, gather up everybody to the back straight, and then off you go once again. So
the even better option is the Stadium Super Truck style. Go 3/4 of the way around the lap, then suddenly the leader just comes to an absolute crawl, everyone catches up, and then you go back racing up the line. Quarter of a lap on a safety car, without a safety car being on the racetrack. I like how they do it. Either way, Mark Gibson will be certainly hoping it stays green, as I expect it might. I think they learned the lesson from Zandvoort. James Anderson is suddenly under a lot of pressure from Gene Rollinson. He's closed in by 1.7 seconds on this lap. Gene Rollinson has turned on the afterburners here on that 8 of this one.
Yeah, and I don't see any significant mistakes from Anderson either. He's just been a little bit slower this lap, and as a result of that, Gene is looking to the inside at Sunset.
That was a very sketchy line. Almost grabbed the fence on the inside 3 times through that corner. And as a result, he wasn't able to be as smooth as he would have liked and wasn't able to stay alongside Anderson. He's close enough to challenge into 1. Both of them compromised on the entry with a very shallow entry. The exit is won by the chasing car, but the defensive line is taken by Anderson. And it's a game of cat and mouse now between these two. And Anderson's got to be careful. Every time he goes defensive, he compromises his exit. And if he's defensive and Rollinson's on the racing line, Rollinson will drive out of the corner with a much, much better run. And will just be able to blaze by him before the next turn. Down into the hairpin. This would be a good example. So Anderson's offline. He's got to slow it up more to get it turned. Rollinson can back it up, get the power down, and close in. And he should be close enough for the look up into the next corner. But again, defensive from Anderson. He's not going to let this one go easy.
No, not at all. So Rollinson to the outside, trying from the outside of Cunningham and pulls it through. Now, can he get his nose ahead? The answer is no, he can't. Anderson still out there on the inside and
around. And can he gather it up? Anderson will surely have to redress.
That's so unfortunate. And
he's
I
not
think
redressed immediately. Gene Rollinson's unhappy.
No, I don't think that was Anderson's fault. I don't think that was Anderson's fault. Now, I looked at the replay, and I don't think he was left enough room on the inside because he was technically alongside still. So,
redressed.
you know, I think he's within the right to keep it, but he's not going to keep it. So, fair enough.
It's sportsmanship. If you're going to ask someone to redress for you, don't bowl it off the racetrack in the very next corner, like Gene Rollinson very nearly did. And Anderson gives him a swipe down the main straight. They'll go side by side through turn 1. No, they won't. Anderson being very savvy here and gets the crossover.
And Rollinson almost managed to lock it off, but didn't quite manage to take the line away. And once again, they come into contact on the braking. This is now very close. Anderson hit in the back rear quarter panel of Rollinson, and this is now bumper racing. What are we doing here? Are we doing racing or ping pong?
Look, here comes Matthew Griffin to make it a 3-way battle. He's loving this because these two are just tripping over each other, and he has pulled in an absolute ton of time on them over the last lap. Now that Rollinson's actually ahead, I wonder if James Anderson has got anything left in the tank to get back at him. Because remember, it was Gene Rollinson closing and making the initial attack before that all kicked off.
Yeah, and Griffin isn't scared about, taking those insides, taking those inside curbs and, really cutting it through, using the BMW to its full advantage. Of course, this car can run over the curbs a little bit smoother at some places than some of the other GDE class cars, but nonetheless, Griffin trying to catch up to these guys, looking like a fun battle there, so why not? And it's for a podium place as well, so I don't think there's a single driver in this field that would turn down a podium position in one of these races. That's how much they value it. And
Rafael Sabo's actually got himself back up in a 7th position after his spin. You can see him just in the back shot there. So he's recovered reasonably well, but he's still going to be quite disappointed with how things have played out. And if things continue the way they are up ahead of him, who knows what he may gain. Anderson spins it, and that is a very, very big hit into the concrete. He's out. Sabo might just hold on to the championship lead, despite today. It seems to be you make a mistake, I make a mistake between those two. Take the pocket meanwhile up front, put in the fastest lap of the race on that last lap to cut the gap in half between himself and Mark Gibson.
Yeah, so the gap between them right now, pretty much half a second. We can't actually see it on the top left tower there, but it's about, I can tell you, it's about half a second now opened up to almost a second.
Yeah, I can assure you Gibson...
a little bit too brave on the hairpin.
I can assure you Gibson does not have a 10-lap lead. Do not worry. Yeah. iRacing does not play ball with our timing software sometimes. We're in these heat race formats. You can see how many spots they ball gain though. Quite a lot for Mark Gibson.
Yeah, and that was Royce Rollinson around on the tower corner as well, getting back going underway once again. Right in time for his brother Gene to catch him up real soon. Not quite yet, but real soon as well, who has run away from Matthew Griffin. And Anderson, of course, dropping from that battle because of his slight disagreement with the wall about the structural integrity of his car.
You called it a disagreement, I called it a full-on brawl.
Well, that's what we call disagreement here in Finland, let's face it. You call it a brawl, we call it a disagreement. Or, okay, you're Australian, it should be the other way around, let's face it. You called that a noise?
What I would call it is not fit for air. 8 tenths, so Gibson responds, pulls out a 10th on this lap. This is an interesting fight. The experience of Cockett the mysterious shroud of air around Mark Gibson and his flashy arrivals of the series. Fastest qualifier. Race 1 win. Looking to become the first driver to win both races in a round this season. Into the hairpin. The margin about 5 car lengths.
Yeah, and I just can't help but imagine Taylor has something up his sleeve in this race yet. He's been so close pretty much all the way through that, you know, he's have to be imagining, okay, this guy, he's coming in as a rookie into our series and he's gonna beat everybody. No, I'm not gonna let that happen, you know. I had a great race too, and he started second in the first one, ended up 7th, so he was disappointed. Now, here in the second race, second heat, he started 15th, is all the way up to second place, and he's been chasing Mark down all this time. But can he pull the pin on the grenade, and can he throw it onto Mark? Well, that's a whole different of a question. He still needs to get a little bit closer, though. He's consistently a little bit too far back to actually make a move.
He is, and when we cross the line, we will get the white flag for one final lap here at Sebring International Raceway, and it'll be a rude awakening for everyone in the field as Mark Gibson looks to sweep this one, because they all thought they were pretty good until Mark Gibson came along and said, this is how it's done. Cloud and a bit of overcast cover descends onto the racetrack as we begin this final lap. Don't think it'll be enough to throw off any of these drivers. The track temp is still nice and cool. It's just been all race long, 27 degrees out there on the racetrack and not much wind to speak of. Lapped car just up ahead. Don't know if we'll get there though. Gonna be tight.
Yeah, very tight indeed between these guys, but I think Gibson's looking a little bit safer for now. He's not seemingly making any big mistakes, you know. That's the thing with Gibson. That's the thing that is impressing me so much about his driving, is that he's just not making any big mistakes. He's holding it tight. He was fast in qualifying when it matters, and he's fast in the race where it matters. Taylor might be a little bit faster here and there, but over the course of this event, it's been Mark Gibson consistently in the lead.
Onto the back straight. Almost. Upper corner's mixed up for a second. I got ahead of myself. Through the right. Through the left. Lapped car. Oh, that was very, very tight. Royce Rollinson almost into the side of Mark Gibson. That was heart-in-the-mouth stuff for him. But it will be pole position. It will be every lap led. And race 1. Start from the back. Keep it mistake-free. Race number 2. Mark Gibson. Gibson goes back-to-back. He wins Sebring here in the BMW Race Driver E-Series. Cockett home in second. Gene Rollinson will be a distant third. And Battle for P7 has, well, it was alive, but it's dissipated on the rest of the slab.
Yeah, there used to be a battle, now there no longer is. However, there is a battle between Douglas Bickley and Andrew Waite for the 10th place. Bickley, who's had a little bit of a, let's say, unfortunate race. Second time around, he received some screen time, perhaps not for the right reasons earlier on. Well, now he's trying to hold on to that top 10 position against Andrew Waite, who was very good, very impressive in race number 1. In the second race, well, not quite so much. Waite's looking to the outside here. He's going to pull it through. I think it's going to be a little bit too wide for him, perhaps. No, Bickley going to look to the inside, back straight. I think they might go side by side. No, Waite managed to pull it through at Le Mans corner and gonna potentially run away here at back straight.
Yeah, he's got a very nice gap. Got a very good run out of that penultimate corner. Should be safe in the sunset bend unless he makes a pretty big error, which is always likely over the bumps. Oh, but he has. And is he out of fuel?
I don't think. Oh,
what's he done?
No, he got it back going. I think he just. I think he stumped it. I think he stumped the car. You know, he lost control over the bumps, and then he just the engine turned off.
Well, that's disappointing for him. He loses out in 10th and crosses the line in 12th. We will go to a quick break here on GSRC. When we come back to your race results, hopefully some interviews here from the BMW Race Driver Series. Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway. We've seen the back of two wild races for our fourth round of the season. And here's your results from race 2. Mark Gibson does become the first driver to clean sweep the round in season 2. Wins race 1, wins race 2 by 2 seconds over Taylor Coughlin and Jim Rollinson, finishing in 3rd, 17 seconds away. Matthew Griffith in 4th and Todd Gibson in 5th. Good day for the Gibsons. And so Rafael Sabo only 6th after his errors. It was a tough day for him. Matthew Giantini 7th. Henry Thomas Kutcher 8th on his debut, finishing 8th there in race 2. Stefan Barker in 9th and Douglas Bickley in 10th.
Paul Blomqvist finishing 11th ahead of Andrew Waite, who I think, and this is no pun intended, we think he waited in the last corner for Paul to get by after taking another look on the brake. Jonathan Shapley finishing 13th, Nathan Krang 14th, and he's going to be the last driver on the lead lap as well, with Lovelock, Rollinson and Rollinson, that's Royce and Kieran, respectively finishing 1 lap down. James Anderson out of this race, as is Hayden Kirk, and Joshua Andrew and Cameron Freeman classified as did not start.
Well, that was definitely the toughest race I think we've seen on the drivers this season, which is probably not what I would have earmarked it for, especially coming from Zandvoort, which in itself was a pretty crazy race. due to the nature of how hard it is to overtake on that racetrack. Did see plenty of good racing though, didn't we?
Yeah, that we did, Ryan. I think you're right. I mean, Sebring is a difficult track for people to manage, especially in changing conditions. Weather going from 30 degrees, over 30 degrees Celsius to just under 25 over the course of the day, and it's going to the evening as well. So it's not an easy task for any of these drivers. So, and what I like the most is that we're getting these battles all throughout the season, Ryan, that are just going to keep developing as the season rolls along.
With that, we will wrap things up. No one's come to join us here for an interview here. We're all lonely, so we'll wrap it up then. Thank you again to Express Hydraulics and Griffin Excavations for their support of the series, and BMW Race Driver Organization for putting this on. Thanks to the companies who provided software and hardware for us as well, and including Jonah Lond, who provides all the wonderful music you hear throughout the show. If you check out the screen, you can see how you can get a hold of any of those great people for more of their work. As well, big thanks to Joe and Ozzy with me up here in the booth today. Make sure to check us out on social media as well at Global SimRacing Channel, and our website can be found at that same address as well. Don't forget to hit subscribe to us on YouTube. We're less than 100 away from 11,000, so if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do it. Other upcoming races listed on the screen, so make sure to check them out and mark them down. But from all of us in the booth, thanks for joining us, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.